Christopher Nolan is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. So much so that when I was in high school, it was my dream to be a filmmaker. That's all I wanted to do was be a filmmaker. So I tried to make a movie and it was terrible. It was so fucking bad. So I just gave up my dream straight away. He also crushed my dreams. But to me, I'll always put him up there as one of the best filmmakers ever. Him and a select few are single-handedly still keeping the magic of true film alive. So it's been a couple of days since the Odyssey trailer dropped, and I kind of waited before I wanted to make this video. I watched it a few times. I let it marinate. I just thought about it, and then I just watched to see people's reactions online. My thoughts in the trailer, I thought it was a good trailer. I thought it was a really good trailer, and that was it. It wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't blow me away, but it was a good trailer. And I think over the years, this has become sort of normal for Christopher Nolan, where he gives us a trailer. He kind of gives us little breadcrumbs, shows a little bit, and then you got to kind of wait until you see the movie. And I think a lot of people who have seen this trailer have forgotten about that because this trailer has not been well received. A lot of people online feel like it doesn't look that good. It looks cheap. It looks poorly done. It's not historically accurate. I've seen some people say it looks like a Marvel movie, which I think is insane because I thought the trailer looked just visually, I thought it looked amazing. The cinematography is done by Hoyt van Hoytema, and if you know anything about him, he's all about using minimal filters, minimal color grading. He heavily relies on natural light and the natural surroundings. He worked on Dunkirk, Interstellar, and Oppenheimer. And this is going to be the first movie ever filmed on IMAX. He worked with IMAX to develop a whole new camera. If you don't know anything about IMAX cameras, they're really heavy and they're really loud, and it makes it really hard to film dialogue scenes. So in the past, filming a whole movie in IMAX was basically impossible because of how loud they are. You can see it. I thought it looked amazing. I thought it looked so good. The visuals alone excited me. Then you've got the score by Ludwig Göransson, which, I don't have to go into detail about him. That man is on a generational run. He's already cemented himself as, I would say, probably top 3 best music composers. So you got those 3 working together. So visually, it's going to look so good, especially on IMAX. It's going to sound amazing. And then you obviously got Christopher Nolan. The cast is so stacked. Everything looks about as practical as it can be. It looks so good. I did have sort of some concerns, or not, I wouldn't even say they're concerns, but firstly, the American accents. I don't hate it. It was just off-putting, especially when you've got half the cast as British and they all speak American. I think I know why. It's obviously a conscious choice by Christopher Nolan. He's made a conscious choice for them to speak American. And then Anne Hathaway has a British accent. That slightly threw me off a little bit. I think I understand why. If you go back to sort of very early film with movies like Ben-Hur, Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, all those epic films that were made back in the day, they actually spoke American. Especially in Ben-Hur, at the time, he kind of had that transatlantic accent. And that's what a lot of actors were trained in. So they kind of spoke that. But then there was also some character that spoke British. The Romans in it were speaking British. It's to show sort of the class system.
Would I retain your friendship if I became an informant?
To tell me the names of criminals is hardly informing.
They're not criminals, Masala. They're patriots.
Patriots, like patriots!
And then in Cleopatra, it was the same thing. We're accustomed to, in modern film, where a lot of the actors in period piece or movies that are set in ancient times having British accents, except Denzel Washington in Gladiator 2, because that man can't do an English accent.
Very good.
And the reason for that is it's kind of inspired by Shakespeare. A lot of Shakespeare's plays like Julius Caesar, Antony, and Cleopatra, they're all performed by British actors, so they all had, obviously, a British accent. And through that, it kind of, British accent means high culture or high class. In a kind of a terribly explained way, that's kind of the reason why. So that's why I think Christopher Nolan made that choice to have American accents. So maybe the Ithacans or another group, or they'll speak British. But I think that goes into sort of what Nolan's trying to do. I understand people's dislike towards the trailer. I can see it. I can see why people think it looks like a terrible movie. I have to disagree. But I can understand. I understand that it's not historically accurate. I understand the armor, the set, the design of it. It's not overly historically accurate. But I think also Nolan's focusing on the mythological side of it. Because at the end of the day, the Odyssey and the Iliad they're fantasy books. They are. Like, they're poems, they're epics, they're fantasy books. So this is Nolan's interpretation of what is basically a fantasy novel. It isn't a history textbook, and I understand people's dislike for that, but I feel like this is always the same when Nolan brings out a new movie. People always say it's going to be a terrible movie. It always happens. And I mean, all you need to do is go look all the way back at Interstellar. Interstellar just became the most watched film on Letterboxd. I remember when that came out. When I went and saw it, I didn't love it. I had to watch it 3 or 4 more times to appreciate it. When that came out, that had mixed reviews. I think it even debuted on Rotten Tomatoes at like 72%. A lot of people didn't like that movie. And then now, people can see that as the greatest movie ever made. Some people found it scientifically clunky and too long, overly sentimental. They didn't understand, or they hated the ending to it. The whole like love ending. But now it's like the complete opposite. Like, Christopher Nolan just doesn't create movies for now. He creates movies that in 5-10 years time that still have that impact. He makes his movies with the intention for them to have breathing room. Like, people watch them, they take it in, and then once the movie's had its sort of like momentum or it's died off, like all of these movies, they all come back. They all come back and people have differing opinions towards them. Some people have actually been gravitating towards Tenet more and more recently. I liked Tenet. I liked it a lot, but I know a lot of people didn't like when it came out, but now it's sort of been getting its own little cult following. Like, his movies age differently. They kind of continually like grow, they change, people's opinions change, and how they feel towards them change. That's why I feel like a 2-minute trailer, it can't capture that. And that's why I think it's an overreaction. Like, judging a non-linear filmmaker by a linear trailer is always going to make you hate the movie. And I understand some of the critiques, like people saying like the dialogue sounds terrible, but I just feel like that's a nitpick. We've seen like probably 10-15 seconds of actual dialogue. There's so much that's been held back in the trailer. Like, we haven't seen the gods. I do have my own concerns for it. Like, I don't know how I feel about Matt Damon as Odysseus. Like, he wouldn't be my first choice. I would much rather have seen more Mediterranean actors in there. I think the role would have been more suited for someone like Eric Bana or Oscar Isaac. I mean, just give me the same look that Eric Bana had in Troy. To me, that's perfect. But at this point, to me, Christopher Nolan deserves a pass. He has a history of proving people wrong. When he chose Heath Ledger as the Joker, everyone thought that was an insane choice. Look what happened.
And the Oscar goes to Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
Like, he's one of the few directors that can make a movie like Oppenheimer. I just think since his 20+ year track record, he deserves a pass because, in my opinion, I think this is going to be one of the best movies of the 21st century. I could be wrong. It just feels like it's going to be that. Plus, we haven't had sort of an ancient epic or a movie like this in such a long time. Like, I miss ancient epics. Like, bring them back. There was a time when they were just coming out every year, but I could be wrong, but I reckon in 2036, people are going to be looking back on the Odyssey the same way they look back on Interstellar.